Welcome to McKnight Tonight. Here's Rob McKnight.
Hello, good evening and welcome to McKnight Tonight. I am Rob McKnight and it is Thursday, the 26th of February, 2026. And yes, it's Tipsy Thursday and I've gone for a Shiraz tonight. What are you drinking? Let me know. Hey, apparently, Amanda, it's Tell a Fairy Tale Day.
Oh.
I'll tell you a tale. I'll make you rich, baby. I'll make you rich.
What's the tale? Tell us a tall tale.
That's the tale. Remember when I promised we'd be rich? Oh, made me sad. Before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to youtube.com/@McKnightTonight. Hit the bell so you don't miss an episode and jump into the comments. I suspect tonight you'll have a lot of opinions. We've got a great community. But here's the thing for you too. If you watch the show on catch up after the live show, leave a comment. Because yes, we've got our live chat, but I'm still interested in your opinions. And I do go back. It pops up. I get notifications of all the comments. So I do read them. Okay, so make sure you do that at youtube.com/@McKnightTonight. All right, here's what we've got coming up tonight. Anthony Albanese labelled a misogynist after calling Grace Tame difficult. Kyle Sandilands says sorry, but will Jackie O return to KIIS FM on Monday? I have some exclusive details. In Rob's Rant, a flood data fight that should have never happened. Bill Gates admits to affairs, but it's what he told Channel 9 that exposes his true character. And later, why women are still falling behind financially and what can actually be done about it. All right, it's Thursday night. Let's get into it. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has been labelled a misogynist for a word he used to describe former Australian of the Year, Grace Tame. Now, it all started during a word association game at a News Corp conference yesterday.
I think it's 12 or 13 questions, one word answers if possible. Let's go. Susan.
I'll try.
You'll try. Grace Tame.
Difficult.
The backlash was swift. Many on social media labelled him, as I mentioned, a misogynist for the comment. That led to him walking back his statement this morning.
Grace Tame, you certainly can't describe in one word. She has had a difficult life, and that was what I was referring to. And what Grace Tame has done is to turn that difficult experience that she had into being a strong advocate for others, which is why she received, quite rightly, the Australian of the Year award.
But Grace Tame was having none of it, making multiple posts about the controversy on social media, including "difficult is the misogynist's code for a woman who won't comply. History tends to call her courageous." And this one in reference to the PM backtracking today and his comments being similar to former Prime Minister Scott Morrison. Actually, though, both men, when called out for their behaviour towards me, have used "she's had a difficult life" as a condescending justification. Get some new material, boys. I've got to be honest. I actually don't see the big deal in being called difficult. Grace Tame is difficult. I've been called difficult. But I have seen, in fairness, a lot of women coming out today and saying it's a put-down used by men who have been trying to put them in their place over the years. And I'll cop that. But I would also say that spin of what he meant that he said this morning, that was just written by a spin doctor. He came up with that word and he should stick by it. And I don't think, personally, there's anything wrong with saying, yeah, Grace Tame is difficult. She's a lot of other things as well. She's complicated. She's fierce. She's independent. But, you know, you've got a former Australian of the Year who didn't want to play by the rules, and that's her choice, and not smile and actually grimace when she was with Scott Morrison. She didn't behave like former Australians of the Year and rise to that role, but she was true to herself. So fair enough. But to say that you can't call someone difficult, I just don't get that. I don't understand why that behaviour can't be called out. As I said, I've been called difficult. I think it was very unfair, mind you. But it wasn't misogyny. It's a word people use to describe people. But I'm not a woman. And so I haven't experienced that side of it. But I can honestly tell you that if I had been the PM, I would have said, but she is difficult. She has done things that have created issues for us. She, you know, like that's just who she is. Fair play to her, but she is difficult. But no, we live in a world where everyone must be brought down. The opposition are all condemning the PM. You know, they're tut-tutting and they're saying, oh, it's outrageous, he's against women. Well, come on, that's just BS. You know, Grace Tame can call him an old man. I think being called an old man is offensive. You know, we all like to think we're young and sprightly, and there she is calling him an old man in another social media post. Come on, Grace, you can do better. But in all seriousness, it's a word, it's a descriptive word, maybe ill-advised from the Prime Minister, but is it really that big a deal? Let me know. Am I going to get the hate? Ooh, the way the media's been going on about it today, Patricia Carvelis on Afternoon Briefing on the ABC, she found it very offensive, as did the female politicians. Let me know. You know what to do. Go to youtube.com/@McKnight tonight and let me know your thoughts. All right, moving on. And questions are being raised internally over whether Jackie O will return to KIIS FM's Carl and Jackie O show on Monday morning. The broadcasting star has been missing in action, taking the week off air after an on-air blow-up with Sandilands last week. Now, today there was another twist when Kyle took the day off, leaving listeners with a repeat episode. Kyle's absence comes a day after he started reflecting on his actions and how they led to Jackie's absence from the airwaves.
No Jackie again today, day 3.
Yeah. Well, she's off for the week, right?
That is correct.
Yes.
That is correct.
How are you feeling about everything?
Nice question, actually.
Yeah.
Because I got a text message yesterday from Marsha Hines, my other work wife at the TV.
Yep.
And she's like, what's going on with Jackie?
Oh, yeah.
And I sort of left it for a while because I thought, because I don't.
Because everyone would be asking you, right?
But I don't really see that many people.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a bit of a blasting from my wife.
Oh, what did Tegan say?
Well, she's been supportive, but she's also very honest with me. And she goes, well, you know, from time to time, you do say things at home that don't land well either.
I'm sure, as everyone does with their partner.
Yeah, and she's right. Like, I think I said to my wife, the friendship between Jackie and I has been over 27 years. Very honest with each other. And sometimes, you know, I think about it in hindsight, I probably should have said my words off the air. But sometimes this show is just so free-flowing and honest.
You know, I said earlier this week on Media McKnight that when Kyle gets a chance to sit back and reflect on this, he would have some regrets about doing it on air, and it certainly seems like that's the case. Now, I've got some exclusive details for you. Kyle wasn't actually in the studio when he had that blow-up with Jackie O. He was actually doing the show from home. So there is a big difference between looking across the table at someone and knowing they're getting really upset and feeling the energy in the room than when you are seeing it on a monitor. And when he was talking to Brooklyn in the first part of the blow up, which you can see on Media McKnight, just go to YouTube, he can see Jackie O on the phone doing this research, and he's not able to get that validation looking around the production team, because he's only got the monitor. And I think this has played into this whole thing as well, because when you're talking on air, it is nice to get that validation. After we do one of these hot topics, I always look over to Amanda for a yes or a no and get some kind of validation. And I think that's what was lacking here. And he possibly didn't realize how much his words were affecting Jackie O because he wasn't in the room with her. Meanwhile, if we look at what happened on Wednesday, Brooklyn, the newsreader, and Bruno, Carl's manager, were taking him through some of the headlines about the controversy, which led to an interesting admission.
Women's Day says nothing lasts forever. Update as Kyle and Jackie O feud escalates.
Well, I don't think it's escalated. Like, I obviously upset her, and maybe in hindsight I shouldn't have said it on the air. But we say a lot of things on the air here. It's never meant to hurt her feelings, and obviously it did. And I regret hurting her feelings. No one wants to hurt someone, especially someone you care for.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I don't really know. The show's just ploughing ahead anyway, so I'm just leaving this up to management. I don't know what the plan is here or when it will be rectified or if it will be rectified. I hope it is. They asked me yesterday, management, what do you want to do about it? And I said, well, I'm open. The end result for me would be we're back on air and everything's happy, but I want her to be happy and enjoy it. And I also want the same thing. I don't care whether you enjoy it or the rest of the staff. I could care less.
I'm glad you want Jackie to enjoy it.
I'll swap you all out in a heartbeat.
I'll tell her that.
I'll do heads and tails as to who stays and who goes, but not for Jackie.
Kyle, you need to call Jackie. The fact that he said he's leaving it to management, he obviously doesn't know how to deal with this situation. And what can management do better than someone you've had a 2-decade relationship with? You need to call her and you need to apologise, and that's probably the phone call she's waiting for. And it's obviously had an effect on Kyle, the stress of it, what's going on. And I do think he's much softer than what we see on air. And I think this has eaten him up. That's why he wasn't on this morning. And the show's not the same without her, just like it's not the same without him. They are an amazing team. And there are fears internally at ARN that Jackie won't show up on Monday. But I can tell you, Kyle is expected back tomorrow. If that happens, we'll wait and see. But Jackie has not put out a statement saying she's definitely back Monday. She hasn't told ARN that she's definitely back Monday. So there's so many questions here. There is a fear she won't be there. And this will either drag on or it's done. But it doesn't sound like Kyle has made a call. And it's the first thing he needs to do. He can talk about it on air all he likes, but he needs to call Jackie. It's a hard conversation to have. In fact, that's why this conversation that we played the other day happened on air, because it's easier. It's part of the theatre. You can have a go at Jackie. That's what you do. It's banter. Kyle just saw it as banter. But there obviously was a real issue about the fact she is addicted to the stars, and he does think it's affecting her work on air. But it's easier to have that conversation in a public place where it's half joking, half real, rather than saying, hey, Jackie, we need to talk and have a serious conversation, even though she would have preferred it to be off air. But I think that shows insecurities from Kyle as to why it didn't happen on air. Why it didn't happen behind the scenes. But now, if he wants to save this work marriage, he needs to do something very tough. He needs to call her. And now.
Have you checked out the latest range of McKnight Tonight merch? You could look sexy in a t-shirt or even one of these caps. Or you can have a Rob's Rant with me every day by getting your own mug. But maybe you're the kind of person who prefers a Backend quickie. Well, you can get them all and more at McKnighttonight.myshopify.com. That's McKnighttonight.myshopify.com. Get some merch, help us out, and you'll look good doing it.
Here comes McKnight tonight.
You could look sexy in a t-shirt. I don't know. There's something about the way I delivered that line that tickles my fancy. So you can go to Shopify, or actually by going to McKnighttonight.myshopify.com and get your McKnight Tonight merch. All right, there's the plug. Now the sting. Tonight, a win, but only after a fight. Queensland councils have avoided a potential $500,000 bill after the federal government backtracked on changes to flood monitoring software run by the good old Bureau of Meteorology. And this matters because we're talking about real-time flood data, the kind of information that can literally save your lives. Last year, it was revealed the BOM, or the Bureau as they want it to be called, planned to axe its long-standing monitoring platform, Enviromon. This is an organisation that just goes from one disaster to another. Let's not forget that whole website redesign that cost $96.5 million. Now, because of licensing restrictions, councils were told real-time data would effectively sit behind a paywall. Their choice? Pay up to $500,000 for access to third-party software or they could rely on the Bureau's public website. So let me say that again. In a state like Queensland, where flooding is not hypothetical, councils were being told they might need to fork out, not they might need to, they would have to fork out $500,000 to access faster data during natural disasters. It's pretty outrageous, isn't it? Now, the Federal Environment Minister, Murray Watt, says the government has listened. Well, thank you, Murray Watt, for listening to the blind obvious. Blind Freddie was there going, why can't you see what I can see? Now, the Bureau will upgrade its own flood data service, increasing the frequency of rainfall and river level updates from every 15 minutes to every 5 minutes. That's triple the frequency. And critically, councils won't face that $500,000 hit. The Bureau of Meteorology was once a great service, and now it is just disaster after disaster after disaster. They need to get rid of all the management and start again. They have wasted so much money on the website and the redesign, wanting to be called the Bureau instead of BOM because BOM, it has bad connotations. You know, the redesign of the website didn't even include the rain charts and all that kind of stuff that we rely on. You know, it just does my head in how people can be so stupid. I'm sick of stupidity. So let's get rid of the BOM management. Let's put a bomb under the BOM management and let's get some new people in and clean house, because the decisions being made right now are quite honestly crapola. That's Rob's rant. Coming up, Bill Gates caught in a lie and exposed by 9 News, although the world's media don't seem to have noticed. Also, why women are suffering financially compared to men and what they can do about it. We're getting some expert advice here. I'll have a backend quickie, and of course, I'll be getting to your feedback. All that and more right after our random live shot of the day.
It's the random live shot of the day. Where are you going today? You'll never know where you'll end up with the random live shot of the day.
Well, I can tell you where we're going to head up. Can I do a take 2 on that? 3, 2. Well, I can tell you where we're going to head to. Tonight we head to Tokyo. And this is the precinct in front of the main hall at Sensoji Temple in Asakusa. It's Tokyo's oldest temple, founded in 628, and is dedicated to Kannon, the Buddhist goddess of mercy. What you're looking at is the approach to the main worship hall, the spiritual heart of the complex. Visitors cleanse their hands, waft incense smoke all over themselves for good fortune, and offer prayers inside. And during the day, the space is packed with tourists. At night, it takes on a completely different feel. Calm, reflective, almost cinematic. Calm and reflective, that's very much like McKnight tonight, isn't it? We're always calm, we're always good. And that's... Maybe I'll bring the calm vibes. We go from ranting, Amanda, like, Rob's rant, to the Buddhist temple. Nice and calm. All right, that's the random live shot of the day. Let's take a look at some feedback coming through to McKnight tonight. We've got this one from Dylan. Happy Tipsy Thursday, everyone. What are we all drinking tonight? Well, we all know I'm on the red wine. What are you on? We've got this one from Beck. She says, finally, a jacket that doesn't make you look like a random bobblehead. I think she's saying that the blue fades into the background, the blue and black jackets I work. But Clint, I'm trying to work out what that is. Clintos is the bestos. Is that what he's trying to say? Do you reckon, Jazz? I'm having a pure blonde tonight and a beer as well. Took me a moment. The PJ Melb says, fan of the show. How live is it? How live do you think it is? How do I do the feedback if it's not live? How do I know it's 9:20 and 16 seconds in Sydney and Melbourne And now 8:20 and 20 seconds, although you're on the YouTube stream, it's probably a bit behind. All right, let's get to some other feedback on the Grace Tame issue. Own Your Crazy says, but Grace Tame does have a difficult temperament. Exactly, that was my point as well. Completely agree. Beck says, why it is a big deal is because as a neurodivergent person who's a woman, it's incredibly offensive when I get called difficult. It hurts. Okay, Beck, thank you for that. We've got this one. Matthew, she would call him difficult and nobody would blink an eye. So true. It really does seem to be a female issue. Maybe as men, we just don't get it, Matthew. Got this one from Clintos is the bestos. In all honesty, if it wasn't for the media talking about Grace Tame, I would have no idea what is going on in her life. Fair point, well mate. We've got this one from Beck. As a man, I don't think you realise that we women have been called difficult a whole lot. We were diagnosed with conditions like female hysteria. Yeah, that makes me laugh, especially when you see some men and how they react to getting a bit of criticism. Not to name any names, President of the United States. Leo Stubbing says, Jackie will be back. She knows where her pay packet comes from. They will forgive and forget. This has happened before. Look, you've got a point. She earns $10 million a year. How much money do you need? Got this one from Jason. Kyle's behaviour is just disgusting, and if I were Jackie O, just an apology would not cut it and I would not be back. But it seems like it was staged to try and improve the Melbourne ratings. Jason, it was not staged. I can tell you, I've spoken to people on that production team. They swear black and blue it was not staged, but also just listen to it. Listen to the audio I put up on Meeting McKnight. It's real. They're not that good an actor. And people always assume that everything's a PR stunt. You know what? People in media aren't that smart. And also, this is causing Kyle serious damage. And as I said, people on the show actually don't know if Jackie is coming back on Monday. So this is not a PR stunt. Own Your Crazy says regarding Kyle doing the show from home, they've got a purpose-built high-tech studio and they literally phone it in. fair enough. Got this one from Matthew. Breaking news, the Kyle and McKnight show coming to KIIS. Oh, could you imagine? The Kyle and McKnight show. Would I need a blonde wig? Maybe I could wear a blonde wig and some McKnight Tonight merch. Got this one from Beck. It really should be a conversation between both of them, not just Kyle. Yep. Got this one from Clintos is the bestos. Does Melbourne KIIS need to find another breakfast team again? ARN can't do it. They just posted a huge loss yesterday, I think it was. And basically they did this whole Kyle and Jackie O thing as a way of saving money. This was the previous management. New managers have come in. And realistically, trying to build the Melbourne team up again, it's probably not worth it. Vic Tweedy says, Jackie O is meeting her lawyer this week to discuss a way out of her contract. Let me tell you, Vic, I have a feeling that if Jackie went to ARN and said, I want out of my contract, they'd say, okay. Because ARN, in a declining revenue market, ad revenue, are stuck with a 10-year contract worth $200 million. The plan was to get rid of Brisbane. They've had to go back on that decision. The show into Melbourne hasn't been a success. I think ARN would happily let her out. Not that they don't love them, but it's a great Sydney show. Donna Robinson Anthony says her horoscope crap is bad, but then again, his Trump-loving rants are worse. Well, maybe that Kyle and I wouldn't get on because you guys know I'm centrist. I go left and right on politics. I probably skew a bit to the right. I'm not a fan of Trump. Beck says, Rob, have you got experience in PR? Because I feel like you need to go and fix everybody's PR for them. I should be crisis management. Clintos is the bestos says Kyle and Jackie O fallout is up there with the Studio 10 Brussels sprout saga. Oh, the vapours. Don't mention the Brussels sprouts. You know I've got that footage. Got it. It's part of my legal case with Channel 10. True story. All right. Coming up, I will get more feedback. I see it. Oh, hang on. Someone's having a go at the desk. I need to tie you up over my right arm. It's almost as bad as the Channel 9 Brisbane. Okay, my right arm. What? I can't see anything. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is a mess down there, but I thought it was well hidden. Captain Glenn, I can't see what you're talking about. Well, you know what? I'll have a think about that. We'll come back to that in the next round of feedback right after we have another topic and then our feature interview.
McKnight tonight. McKnight tonight. McKnight tonight. Here comes McKnight tonight.
Well, there's still time to get your feedback in because I will have more feedback shortly in the show. Moving on. Bill Gates is a liar. That is the only conclusion I can come to after the tech billionaire admitted to having 2 affairs with Russian women. Now, according to the Wall Street Journal, Gates apologised to staff of the Gates Foundation over his ties to Jeffrey Epstein at a town hall this week. As per the report, the Microsoft co-founder acknowledged that he had 2 affairs with Russian women that Epstein later discovered, but that they didn't involve Epstein's victims. I did nothing illicit. I saw nothing illicit. Gates said images in the recently released Epstein file showing him with women whose faces were redacted are pictures that Epstein asked him to take with Epstein's assistants after their meetings. To be clear, I never spent any time with victims, the women around him, Gates said. Now, when reporting first came out about this, in a case of unfortunate timing for Gates, he had a scheduled interview with 9 News shortly after a release of the Epstein files suggested that he engaged in extramarital sex. It was a claim his reps denied, as you can see in this New York Times headline. For Gates, somewhat surprisingly, he actually turned up for the interview with Charles Croucher, who asked him, of course, about the allegations.
You've no doubt seen the allegations, including some of them from the last 24 to 48 hours. Are they true?
No, apparently Jeffrey wrote an email to himself. That email was never sent. The email is false. So I don't know what his thinking was there. Was he trying to attack me in some way? But, it just reminds me, every minute I spent with him, I regret and I, apologize that I did that.
The problem is some of the things that he has sent and some of the information about other people that has come up in those files has been true. Why would he do this and say this about you, do you think?
It's factually true that I was only at dinners. I never went to the island. I never met any women. And so, the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be that although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior.
Is it frustrating to you, given what you've said, that this is now happening?
Not really. I mean, people should, hold people who are successful to a very high bar. And so, it's as these documents come out, they're going to be closely scrutinized.
Okay.
Let's just drill that down, that key moment, because he was asked if the allegations in the Epstein emails about him having affairs were true. And this is what he said.
You've no doubt seen the allegations, including some of them from the last 24 to 48 hours. Are they true?
No, apparently Jeffrey wrote an email to himself. That email was never sent. The email is, false.
The email is false. But we know that's not true because he's now admitted it in this town hall that he at least had affairs with Russian women, with at least 2 Russian women. So 2 affairs. So he's admitting that. Now, what drove him into that? Why is he admitting that? Don't know. But his first instinct with that interview with Charles Croucher was to lie. And it's always the cover-up that'll get you undone. Always the cover-up. He'd said in Charles Croucher, look, I had an affair, but I didn't have anything to do with Epstein and with Epstein's victims. At least that would have been a little bit more believable. But you sit here now thinking, well, he lied to Charles Croucher. So is he lying now? And he's only releasing the information that he has to? Because maybe there's proof that he actually did have these affairs. Whatever the reason, he has felt that he needed to admit to the affair with the Russian women, which is obviously a lesser offence in morals, and when we get to underage victims, the law. He hasn't broken any laws by having two affairs with Russian women. But of course, if he partook in these sex adventures with Jeffrey Epstein with underage girls, then he has broken the law. But how can we believe him? How can we trust what he's saying when his first reaction was to lie? Make no mistake, Bill Gates lied to Charles Croucher when he said the emails are false. How can you trust anything he says?
The best place to watch McKnight Tonight is on YouTube. Help us monetize the show by going to youtube.com/@McKnightTonight. And you can always become a paid member. That gives you exclusive live streams and early access to videos. Just go to youtube.com/@McKnightTonight.
Here comes McKnight Tonight.
Well, did you know that only 48% of Australian women are considered financially literate compared to 63% of men? Now, the opposite is true in my house, but women in their mid-50s hold around $55,000 less in super than men the same age. These gaps compound over a lifetime of lower pay, caring responsibilities, and earlier retirement. So, what are the tips and tricks for financial literacy? Annika Bradley is the head of advice strategy at UniSuper. Annika, welcome to McKnight Tonight.
Thanks so much for having me, Rob. Really appreciate it.
No dramas. Why is there such a disparity when it comes to financial literacy but compared to men and women?
It's a great question, and the results are even more pronounced when we are looking at younger folks between 15 and 24. So I do think that there's an element of school education that needs to be uplifted in this area, but I think that there is also a lot women can do to uplift their own levels of financial literacy, and certainly financial advice is really a really important part of that.
Okay, obviously people should get financial advice, but what are these things women can be doing?
Yeah, so we think financial advice exists on a spectrum. So from education, guidance, right through to that one-on-one personal financial advice. And education is as simple as taking a look at the Money Smart website or your super funds website. There is a lot of important information on there. Guidance is you can call your super fund to ask particular things. So for example, you touched on the fact that there is a large gap for women when it comes to superannuation balances, and a lot of that is attributable to those primary carer responsibilities through those child rearing years. And so super splitting with your husband, that's certainly, or your partner, is certainly one strategy that you can take to narrow that super gap as you're leading into retirement.
So for women watching this, you've mentioned getting financial advice. We've talked about super splitting. What is the big takeaway that someone sitting there that might be close to 50, sitting there thinking, I feel really behind with my super, is there anything they can do?
Yeah, absolutely. They can do a lot. I mean, I think the biggest contributor to your financial security in retirement, and this sounds incredibly basic, is looking at what you spend compared to what you earn and making sure that you are spending less than you earn. Now, with that differential, and I think that applies to at any point throughout your career, you are able to make a difference to your end balance that you end up with in retirement. And even as you're into and through retirement, what you're spending is incredibly important. So if you're pre-retirement, that spending differential you can use to, for example, pay down your mortgage more quickly, or you can use it to contribute more into super. And we see that the compound effects of even, $500, $1,000, whatever it is that you can spare a year into your super over time, particularly if you're starting a little bit earlier, can have some really beneficial impacts. I think the other thing that's very simple to do is make sure that you're in the right investment option. And as I talked about that spectrum of financial advice, one of the newer offerings is what's called digital advice. And digital advice is offered through a few funds now. We offer digital advice. And one of the advice journeys is investment choice. Now, choosing which investment option you should be in super it's a bit of a minefield, frankly. So a great anecdote, one of my best friends, highly educated woman, very successful, looked at, as she was switching super funds, she looked at what investment option she should be in and didn't really know which one to pick. So we've now got a great tool. It is advice. We provide a recommendation at the end of that to help you and guide you to what investment you should be in, and getting the right investment option at any point throughout your career can also have a really big impact on your balance at retirement and through retirement.
It's interesting. The RBA commissioned a survey that shows since the early 1990s, enrolment numbers for Year 12 economics courses in Australia have fallen about 70%, and the decline is more pronounced for girls. Why is that happening? We're in the age of equality. We don't look at women having to be in the kitchen or anything like that. Women are encouraged to do finance and all these things. Why are we seeing this happen, do you think?
Yeah, I honestly can't answer that, Rob. I mean, I think that there has been a real push for girls at school and young women to do those STEM subjects, those science and technology subjects, because we do know from the Australian Bureau of Statistics that women are still earning less than men. So I think it's 88 cents for every dollar women earn compared to men. And often that is not only a function of those carer responsibilities, but it is the careers that women find themselves in. And those higher paid careers are often dominated by men. So I think that there is a few things from a societal perspective to look at when it comes to this. But certainly that, as you point out, trying to get women into economics, those STEM courses at the point of university is going to set us up for hopefully narrowing this pay gap.
Before I let you go, there was yesterday the latest inflation data was released. It was higher than anticipated. In your financial circles, do you guys think there'll be another rate hike off the back of this data?
Yeah, great question, Rob. And I'm not an economist, but at UniSuper, we do have a great in-house investment team, and they follow these economic data points really closely. And so it did come out at 3.8%, which the Reserve Bank of Australia have a target range of between 2 and 3%. So 3.8% is a lot higher than that target range. So yes, certainly the market thinks at this point that a rate rise in the not too distant future is very possible, and that is not great news for mortgage holders.
Or people trying to put a bit of extra money into their super. Annika, Bradley, thank you so much for joining us on McKnight tonight.
Thank you, Rob.
You can show your support for the show by buying me a coffee. Just go to buymeacoffee.com/McKnight tonight. Every bit helps keep this show from our garage going. Yes, you know what I think it's time for? I think we better liquor up because it's time for a back-end quickie.
It's time for a back-end quickie.
Maybe I'll take the jacket off. Gotta make yourself comfortable for a back-end quickie. I think this was a bad idea. There's the earpiece. This was well thought out. All right, tonight's back-end quickie is news fails. I love news fails. Let's roll the tape.
This isn't actually the plate. Oh! What? That one really hurt. You really got my ass. On Landline this Sunday, we take a rare look.
The Nutcracker performances are tomorrow night and Sunday.
I'm going to actually try to
It is hard being a reporter on the road, isn't it? Those poor people. Thank you very much. That was sent in by Jasmine McKnight. Thank you, Jazzy. All right. I'm losing my voice. Let's get some feedback coming through to McKnight tonight. Clintos is the best. I said, instead of buying you a coffee to help you with McKnight tonight on Thursdays, will you sit for a tip instead? Well, you're on YouTube. Hit the. There's a money button. You can hit a money button and give us some money for a chat, and I'll have a sip. I'll keep sipping. Is the money going off? No. And You're Crazy says, the bomb are so out of touch with public expectations. So true, so true. And I think the managers that they had, that new guy came in, tried to rebrand it, it just wasted so much taxpayers' money. Jake Weston, 2015, says, Carl and Jackie O are done. Aaron cannot afford this nonsense anymore. Christian O'Connell and Jonesy Amanda showing them how it's done. Well, we'll see. Look, I do think Christian O'Connell will go well on gold in Sydney now that he's moved into the Sydney market as well. The radio ratings are in a week or so, and it'll be interesting. I'll be covering that on Media McKnight, of course. Beck asks, do you have glasses, Rob? Yes, I have. I've worn them on the show previously. It's really weird. I needed them I needed them all the time for a while, and they're bifocals, so long and short. With the auto cue, I actually find that the auto cue gets a little bit blurry when I've got them on, and I'm sort of having to try and move my head. But I don't actually need them for here, but yeah, I do wear them. Dylan did a super chat, $7.99. Time for a sip. I tell you what, I've got a little bit of wine left. I'll keep drinking while the money keeps coming. $2 from Own You're Crazy. Oh, God. Wait there. Hang on. Is this how we're going to end Thursday night? You all just trying to get me drunk? Could work. Actually, you'll need a lot more money to go in if you were trying to get me drunk. Clintos is the bestos, says, hey Rob, Clint from Facebook here, moved to YouTube and you got my handle correct. Clintos is the bestos. Oh, Clint, thanks for making the journey over from Facebook. We like having you here on YouTube. But you know what? We love our Facebook watchers as well, just like Jimmy, who says, bring back the bloopers show on free-to-air. Better than half the shows that are currently on air. So true, Jimmy, so true. We've got this one from Captain_Glenn. The top of your desk edge at the very back front needs stapling or some gaffer tape. Okay. Yes. Very well picked up, I've got to say. So, as you know, built this set myself. This is a contact on this curved desk, and it was very hard to do the edging. And my middle child, all my kids, when they play Roblox together here, is it Roblox or Minecraft, Jazz? Both. My middle child sits here and she was picking away. So I've actually had to put a line of gaffer tape here. So it actually does have gaffer tape, but I do have to redo it. It's all scratched, which thankfully you can't see. But on Media McKnight on Tuesday, we'll be celebrating because 9 News Queensland have fixed their desk. They've paid attention and they have actually gotten rid of the little desk that was sitting next to Joel. So, you know what? If you believe, miracles can happen. Jimmy says, the more you sweep things under the carpet, the worse it will turn out when things come out. Yes, this is on Bill Gates. So, yes, I could completely agree, Jimmy. Beck says, us autistic people find it very hard to lie, and he's autistic, and that's been documented. Beck, that might be true, but he lied. He did lie. I have the tape evidence. Regarding super, Matthew says, I wish I could get my super now. Who knows when I die? Yeah, there's truth to that, but if you live too long, Matthew, the whole point of super was to try and get you to be self-sufficient in your retirement. It's not a bad plan. Yes, there are times when we need that super money early. Clintos is the bestos, says, Ironic, we are listening to financial literacy interview and an ad for sports bet comes up on YouTube. Well, that'd be the problem. Matthew would take all his money and put it on horse number 7. Beck says the investment side is really confusing. It is, Beck. It is, Beck. And that's why if you can find a good financial advisor, that would be great. Now, Clintos is the best has joined the subscriber page, so I have to have a drink for that. And he's also put $5 in the super chat. I have to have a drink for that. And, oh yes, Clintos just said I am now a McKnight Tonight paid member, sip away. And Matthew has just done $2.99, skull. I do like to try and enjoy the wine. In actual fact, this has got to tide me over when we come off air because I finished the bottle. Robbo's 3 sips now. 3 sips? Am I behind? I'll have 3 sips. This is what I've been told. They're doing the super chats. It's fascinating streaming, isn't it? Watching me have some wine. All right. Told you need a lot more than that if you're trying to get me drunk. I sound like an alcoholic. All right. That, my dear friends, brings us to the end of this edition of McKnight Tonight. It's been a fun night. I am so hot, though. The aircon isn't cool enough. We will be back on Monday with a brand new show. And yes, for that person who asked, live, as we stream live at 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. That is 8 p.m. in Queensland, 6 p.m. in WA, and 8:30 in South Australia. I look forward to your company next week. We've got a big week planned. As soon as I sit down and plan it, I'm sure it'll be big. We'll see you next week on McKnight Tonight. Good night, guys.
Fun, insightful interviews from a washed-up producer with nothing to lose. McKnight Tonight. McKnight Tonight. McKnight Tonight. It's good.